A very good morning to you, everyone. You're most welcome to today's episode of the Market Snapshot. Today is the 26th of April, 2024, and I'm happy to be with you guys today to go through what's been happening in the markets. So let's dig in, guys. Okay, so for today, the main thing that we are going to be focusing on is the recent Bank of Japan conference, which of course was today. Of course, the main takeaways from the conference and of course the market reactions we are getting as of now are indicating to some kind of bearishness for the Japanese yen, and of course, like it's always been with the Bank of Japan. They have super dovish. Most of the comments that they have been providing from uh, uh, from their previous conferences have indicated that they are still super accommodative, and of course it's because of those hints on accommodativeness, the hints on them still expecting inflation to steadily increase, and of course again they also did not increase the interest rate in this meeting for today. And of course, that's the reason why we are seeing JPY pairs on a strong upside momentum. Those of you that have been trading USD JPY, if you're trading uh, 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 GBP JPY, CAD JPY, most of those pairs are actually on a strong upside move, simply because of those comments from the Bank of Japan policy statement, as well as also from the Bank of Japan governor, who is Governor Ueda. So we're going to be going over the charts in a moment to go through some of those pairs to see what is really happening. Now, just to give a general overview of what we are seeing with the markets, we have seen from yesterday's GDP report, we saw that the GDP report actually was dismal, and we saw GDP actually kept coming in lower and below expectations, again reinforcing the likelihood that we should see a fairly hawkish Fed, and of course that's the reason why we are seeing that the dollar is actually steadily holding its ground. However, even as the dollar is holding its ground today morning, we're also observing that there's also some risk on momentum that is appearing in the markets. If you look at Euro USD, if you look at GBP USD, if you look at gold has also surprised traders today because it seems to be on a steady uptrend along with all the other commodities, some of those assets on the charts, to see how we can potentially look for trades today. Now, before we go through the comments from the Bank of Japan conference, I just want to go through the calendar for today and see what we can expect later today. So later today, we are going to be seeing PCE. The PCE is in full is the personal consumption expenditure, and that's what it stands for. Another thing about the PCE, for those that might not be aware, is that the PCE is also the Federal Reserve's inflation gauge. So when the Federal Reserve Bank of the US wants to see how inflation is in the US, they typically look at the PCE for them to get some information. So the PCE is a very key metric, especially when it comes to decision making over the Fed. But not only that, but it also has an impact on the market because we tend to see a lot of movements, especially for USD pairs. So if you're trading anything that is GBP USD, Euro USD, gold, expect to see some potential movements there from these assets. So the PCE is going to be coming out at 3:30, and we are going to see, we are looking at estimates that are pointing to a potential slowdown on inflation on the year-over-year basis. We're expecting that we see the PCE declining from 2.8% to 2.6%. And of course, we're also seeing that the PCE month over month is expected to come in line with expectations at 0.3%. So if you have any questions regarding PCE or regarding anything in the markets, you can type in your questions and we can come back to them in due course. Now, looking at the forecasts, what we can expect today is that if we get a resurgence here. If we get a PCE number of about 3%, 3.1%, it's likely that we should see a much stronger dollar. However, yesterday's GDP report, which we got, has provided a bit of confusion and indecision for the dollar, because on one hand, we had the GDP data, the Q1 data coming out lower at 1.6%, but we saw that the GDP price index also came in higher at 3.1%, giving us that kind of confusion on really what is the market to do with the data that we got. Now, how to trade today's PCE? This is how we are going to approach PCE. If the PCE comes in above 3%, anywhere closer to 3% or within the region of 3 to 4%, we should be looking for some buys on the dollar. However, if we get the PCE coming in below 2.8%, possibly even below 2%, which again is unlikely, then we should see a sharp move higher for Euro USD, for GBP USD, and also for AUD USD, as well as also for gold. Now, I usually tend to like to read the market and try to get a mind, try to really get a perspective of what the market makers might be up to. Now, looking at how the risk-on assets have been moving, if you look at the Forex, you will see that we are seeing some kind of indecision in the market, because we're having the dollar rising on some pairs, but we're also having the dollar selling on some pairs. So the market is still trying to get its footing for now. And what you need to do as a trader is focus on what are you seeing on the charts, what things are presenting to you, what things are showing you that maybe you should look for buys. It could be your technical analysis or whatever the case may be. That's what you have to really focus on the charts. Now let's cross over to Financial Juice, which I usually use to get my news and my comments. So I'm just going to zoom in on the Financial Juice so that you guys can see what is happening there. Now, with the data that we got from Bank of Japan, most of it is dovish data. To start it off, we are going to first focus with what the Bank of Japan governor said regarding inflation. Now, hey, the comments where you're saying I've liked them, those are the comments that I've already read, right? Yeah, so at least I have a good understanding of what the governor has already commented on. Now, some of the things I saw from today's conference, a few of them were on the comments on accommodativeness. So when we talk about accommodativeness, we talk about the Bank of Japan indicating that they want to still stay a bit of accommodative. They want to still keep the current pace of asset purchases, possibly keep the money in circulation. Okay, that's what it means in simple terms. So what that means is that for the currency, if we have a Bank of Japan that is not telling us whether they are going to hike rates, it's not telling us that they are going to trim back or they want to shrink their balance sheet, things like that, that can only spell weakness for the currency. So the yen, and of course, the reason why we are seeing a very, very weak yen today morning is because traders are now increasing their bets for a weaker yen on the back of this recent commentary from the Bank of Japan. So if you read through some of the comments we are getting, if you read through, for instance, this one is saying that BOJ's Governor Weda, the BOJ will adjust its degree of monetary easing if the underlying inflation rate rises. So now what this means is that the Bank of Japan is still accommodative right now. They are still keeping the current pace of asset purchases, and they are not going to increase rates until they see inflation rising. So that means that we are going to see a much weaker yen, and possibly explains why today morning we are looking for buys on USD JPY, buys on GBP JPY, and buys on the CAD JPY. All of that is because of these comments. Now, again, later we are seeing that BOJ's Governor Weda, monetary policy conduct depends on future economic, price, and financial conditions. We must pay due attention to financial, FX, market moves, and the impact on Japan's economy and prices. Japan's economy is recovering moderately. We are to buy bonds as decided at the March meeting. Okay, so at least they have hinted on some kinds of they have hinted on easing, that they want to at least see how they can ease. Remember, if a central bank buys bonds, they want to, you know, suck up liquidity. Yeah, but the only thing is that the pace of the bonds now is the issue. We are not yet seeing them buying as many bonds as they should be buying. Yeah, so that's really it, I think, regarding Bank of Japan. Uh, we really shouldn't read too much. Now, yeah, the other thing is on those that are trading stocks. Yesterday we had a blowout earnings for Google, which for the very first time hinted on a share buyback. Rather, for the very first time, said that they are going to pay out a dividend, which has been the first in a long time for them to do. So briefly, if we can just go to see the reason why we saw a sharp rise on a NASDAQ yesterday was because of those earnings. Snapchat also impressed and of course surprised a lot of traders. You can first start with Snapchat. So the tradition has been before earnings, we usually look for a sell on a Snapchat. Snapchat is available on FX Pesa's platform. For those of you that may not be aware, you can trade on FX Pesa's platform. You just have to search for Snapchat and you find it. Now, it has evolved, and of course, we are seeing that it is now, it has now looked for ways in build revenue aside from just providing a service. Okay, so I suspect that's the reason why we saw the sharp move higher, because they beat on revenue and it's now up about 24% pre-market. Now, of course, this is one of the reasons why Nasdaq futures are up a lot today and why we should expect to see a much stronger Nasdaq today evening. Now, crossing over to Google. Google, again, two things. Google announced a 70 billion share buyback. Share buybacks are typically activities that companies will do to prop up their share price, and they have now announced 70 billion. So Google is actually up about 12% pre-market, and that explains why we are seeing a strong Nasdaq today. And of course, we shall see that also on the chart. Microsoft also reported very strong earnings. So typically, tech is looking very, very bullish, and we should see this continue through the course of the year. Microsoft is also up about 4% today, as you can see. And of course, that is because of it earnings. Awesome. So let's cross over to the charts, guys. I know a lot of you are itching to see what's happening on the charts. So we shall cross over to the charts and see what's happening there. Okay, so for the charts, we are going to start with gold. So for gold, this is what we are seeing on gold. At the moment, we are having a fairly bullish gold. Smith, you're saying microwave. Are you? Are you trying to mean the waves with my hair? I don't know. Thank you so much. Okay. Uh, okay, so let's look at gold. So this is what we have on gold. Essentially for gold, gold has a very nice ascending triangle. And of course, this was a setup that I traded personally yesterday. Gold presented really, really nice buy setup yesterday after the break of GDP news. Essentially, what we saw on gold is that it created a very, very nice very nice ascending triangle on the H1 time frame. And we are seeing that again. If you watch the snapshot that I had on Wednesday, I told you that the demand for gold is seated around the levels of 2,300, 2,290, somewhere around there. Okay, and that was the same area where we saw gold moving up on NFP for this month. For this month, yeah, for this month, for April, NFP for April, we saw gold buying from 2,300, steadily rising, and of course, gold peaked at 2,400. Now, two things. If you look at gold's momentum, it's clear that gold's sell momentum has died out for now. For now, And of course, the reason for that is on one hand, it could be that we do not have any more sellers for the week. If we don't have any more sellers to push gold back down, then it has to switch over to buyers. Now, technically, gold's demand is seated at 2,300. Okay, so for us to see any selling for gold, we need to take out this zone. So I marked this zone even from the last snapshot that we had last Wednesday. We saw gold buying off this area here. And ideally, what a smart trader would do is that you would be looking for buys every single time you have a higher high printed, a higher low printed, right? Now, you can see here clearly that we had the first higher low printed here, okay? The second one was printed around here. And of course, you can look at the where the candlesticks are building, that gold is showing signs of strong bullish momentum. So if you're a scalper, the idea is this: if we get a retest today for gold, possibly towards this area, we might have a retest sometime this morning, where gold might have a retracement possibly up to somewhere there. And then of course, we should see it buying into that zone as we go into the end of the day. Now, the other thing is this: the movement for gold is very different. This movement that we are seeing for gold in this channel, okay, is very different from the movement we have been seeing for gold in this previous channel. And of course, the giveaway there is as simple as this. In this movement that gold had going up this area here, as you can see, this move here that gold had, all this was simply because of those tensions that we are getting with Iran and Israel. As of now, those tensions have kind of died out, and now gold is purely moving as a risk-on asset. It's purely moving on demand, okay? So if the demand dies out, then we should see gold retracing, and possibly we should see it moving higher. Now, one thing that I need to mention is the retracement for gold may not be too deep. We might have a slight retracement, but what I would advise is do not look for buys right now, because you might get trapped with a sell. If you look at gold, we've been buying since Asia, a movement that we've had of about 250 pips. So you need to wait for gold to have a retracement before you get into any buys. But for now, what I can advise is that we should focus on buys for gold going into Friday evening. Now, crossing over to USD/JPY. USD/JPY is looking like this. Okay. Now, guys, I'm seeing an interesting candle here. What is that? Whoa, 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 whoa. This candle is from when? Let's first have a look at this. This is 11. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay. Wow, 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 wow. Can you look at that beauty? 170 pips. Sharp sell on USD/JPY. Okay, now I do not know what's causing that. Could be maybe USD/JPY is a bit overbought. So now let's focus on what's happening today for USD/JPY. So in Asia session, we saw USD/JPY buying from around here. This was today morning. We bought from this area here, a move of about 130 pips, and it seems USD/JPY has peaked at this level here. Now, guys, let's not kid ourselves. If you look at USD/JPY on a big time frame, such as this one here, you'll notice that we are in a very, 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 very strong uptrend that looks extremely overbought. Okay. Now, it's likely that as we've been going into the Bank of Japan conference of today, it's likely that a lot of traders have been betting on a dovish Bank of Japan. Okay, especially since the inflation for Japan has not really been showing signs of upside. It's likely that a lot of traders were betting on a dovish Bank of Japan. So what this simply means is that we might then see a bit of weakness coming in. Stay conscious with USD/JPY. Okay, stay conscious with it. I do not think it's going to rally for too long. We are already up quite a lot from CPI. If you count the pips here, from the break of this box on CPI, we've now had a move of about close to 500 pips. Okay, so in the interim, it's likely that we're going to get a pullback. The pullback might come, and the pullback most likely will see us getting into this area that we're in on Friday on in this morning. So I would look for sales on USD/JPY with very tight stops somewhere upwards of this area here, just in case we see maybe price action reversing and maybe buying back this area. I would want my stop loss to be hit, but I would maintain my bearish momentum on USD/JPY especially, simply because it seems like it's overbought and there has to be a temporary pullback there. Now, crossing over to GBP/JPY, GBP/JPY is also showing signs of extreme bearish momentum, rather extreme bullish momentum. There were two ascending triangles on GBP/JPY today. There was one here within this area here, where we saw price buying and of course breaking through structure here before moving higher. So GBP/JPY broke through very key resistance points and broke structure. As you can see, we had a resistance point here that it broke, here as well as also here, as well as also here. So technically what a smart trader would do is that you would ideally would have gone into a buy at this zone. Okay, you'd have gone into a buy here, expecting that if you get a break of these levels here, then you would get a very nice uptrend, which we did get. And of course, it's why we are seeing you know, GBP/JPY looking in that strong uptrend momentum. Now, aside from this ascending triangle we also got another one here where we saw liquidity sweeps taking us back into this uptrend. And when we broke structure here, we saw a move to the upside of about 120 pips. Now, there is some kind of a very big candle that has appeared here, and it could be signs that maybe, you know, GBP/JPY might be might have topped for a bit. So we should see some retracement coming in soon for this particular pair, where we should see price potentially reversing and moving to the downside. So this typically happens. This has nothing to do with manipulation. This is purely just the market doing what it does. Okay, so don't mind about this. It's something simple, and you just have to make sure that your stops are tight. Okay, so I think that's it really from me regarding what's happening on the markets. Unless you guys have any questions, are there any questions that you guys might have for me regarding what I've presented and essentially maybe how to go about trading today? Any questions, guys? Now may be the time for you guys to ask your questions. Yeah, Ojok, you're saying there has been a sharp move. Could it be on GJ? Yeah, this is just normal price action. Don't mind about this. I think it shows signs of uh, weakness in trends. Okay, so I think GBP/JPY is going to tap out soon. Which it's been rallying. It has been on a strong up. It's been on a tear. You can see that clearly. It's moving. It's been moving up quite tremendously. So there's going to be a temporary downtrend soon, and that should kick in soon, and we should see price moving higher. Rather, price moving lower. After retracement, then price should move higher. So I would look for sales at this point on GBP/JPY. Definitely, I'll be looking for some sales there since price seems to have overbought a bit. Yeah. Next question. Questions, guys. Questions. In an ascending triangle, you're supposed to buy, right? Is the opposite true? That is true. In a descending triangle, you buy. Very, very smart. That's really smart, Thomas. You understand that quite nicely. Yes, the opposite is true. In an ascending triangle, you look for buys, and in a descending triangle, you look for sells. Okay, so I trade with patterns, and my patterns are very simple and they are profitable. They work for me all the time, all the time. Okay, so typically when the market is in a rising trend, okay, such as this one that you're seeing here, uh, what this means is that first of all, there is a bullish momentum. Okay, so when you see the market breaking structure after a number of points like this one, you buy at this area here. Okay, so you look for a buy around here. That's when you look for a buy somewhere around here. Yeah, then for a descending triangle, ideally what it is that you're having something like this. Okay, so price typically is in a downtrend, and then it gets into a channel like this. Once it gets into this channel, then we typically see price selling. Okay, so sometimes it can be rising, and then of course we see it getting into a channel. It can be rising or falling, so any of the two would apply. If we are rising and then we get into a channel to sell, or if we are selling and then we get into a channel to buy. Okay, so that's how that works, Thomas. Yeah, I hope you've been able to understand that. Yeah. Mhm. Next question, guys. Okay, if there are no more questions, then I believe we can call it morning. Awesome. Let's call it a morning, guys. For today, I'm focusing mainly on JPY pairs, guys. So for high probability trades, focus on the JPY pairs. That's where you're going to get some good trades today. Awesome. I wish you guys an amazing weekend, and we talk soon then. Cheers, guys.